Awesome. All right, letting everybody in here. Cool. We're going to get started here in just a minute. We want to give everyone ample time to join us. So thanks to everyone for filtering in, and we will kick this off in just a minute. Jen, so I used to do anytime I would kick a webinar off, I would always do or I had been doing for a little while, is AI pictures next to each other, just one slide. And one was taken from my phone and one was an AI picture, and I'd have everyone guess.
That is awesome. The question is, how right was everyone? I'd be a little worried.
Genuinely 50-50.
Yeah. You just don't know.
Yeah, like no one would really know. The people would be like, well, I'm going to pick the better looking picture.
Sure, of course.
That was the right call. That's the
anything to butter up somebody else.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's funny. I was just reading, I think it was Inc. magazine last night, and this has been the big talk. Like, we think we visually are perceiving properly, and we so are not. Like, it was about nonverbal communication, like when somebody's looking at you, what you're thinking they're thinking, but what they're really thinking. But it's the same with AI. We think we're perceiving the right, and we're not. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally get that. I was watching a podcast the other day, and they compared AI to like a 3 or 4-year-old, and they were like going into each reason of why AI currently is just a 4-year-old. And I was just like, oh man, I'm not ready for adolescence. Like,
please, dear God. I'm not thinking of my human self. I'm thinking of my kids when they were 4. Help me now. That's funny. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, we will get started. Hey guys, my name is Chris Gonzalez. I am with GReminders. Today we want to talk about AI operations, lead gen, and just kind of go into what we believe is a really impactful workflow. Today with me is Jen. I'll have her kind of introduce herself. She can kind of go into everything that she's done and maybe a little bit more into like what we're going to be talking about and all that fun stuff too. Jen, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Absolutely. So Jen Goldman here, my virtual COO, been around the block for over 19 years consulting, and before that in the weeds of businesses and really scaling up operations. And just to be clear, that is not the growth side of the business. That's the infrastructure and foundation side of the business. And anyway, so we're here today with Chris, and we're gonna, take a swing at this.
You got me beat with 17. With 17 years.
Yeah, I got a lot. The gray hairs are hidden. We can see I'm tucking them in. But honestly, experience is everything at certain points. We learn a lot of lessons, just recapping that this morning. And so all we're going to share is what we've learned. And this is not, we did not come out as a 4-year-old knowing this, if we want to use that analogy. This is something that, you have to see, you have to hear, you have to take it out for a run. So
yeah, I mean, I completely agree. And a lot of AI, a lot of people think, okay, what can it do for me? And they think very basic, like AI note taker, right? There's 3 or 4 or 5 of them that immediately drew up, right? Because it was a really easy problem to solve. And now it's like, okay, well, now we all have AI note takers. So now what? Now what does AI do? Right? It was the quick, easy solution. I think we saw something similar about a decade ago with CRM, right? It's like, how do we make the firm better? Probably 15 years ago. How do we make it better? Add a CRM. Got it. So then everyone purchased one. And it's like, okay, well, now what, right? Now, how do I add taggers? How do I add keywords? All that stuff. So I think we're in a very similar boat on the AI front of things. Yeah, I'm excited to talk about it. I've been in the industry for 12 years, so a little less than you. I've been managing, relationships with financial advisors, broker dealers, but largely I've been working a lot with tech. So I've been working with all of the vendors that we've seen, Nitrogen and, Money Guide, all of those vendors. I've been working very closely with them for the last decade, which is cool. They've given me a lot of insight through the years. But I do want to kick it off. So do you want to pull up your slides here?
Yeah, let's do that to give everybody a little visual breather, as I believe talk is a little harder to digest. So this is what we're going to cover today. We're going to do it. Chris and I agreed. I wanted to do it in short form, give you a taste, give you some techniques, because listen, at the end of the day, what Chris and I are talking about is bringing it all together. And that isn't the easiest part. There's all these great tools out there. So we're going to talk about AI and improvements. We're going to talk about process improvements and just give you a couple of techniques I'm really tackling, and then talk about AI trends and the next. And, I am not a truth seeker or I have the magic ball in front of me. So we're just going to, give you our concepts and open your mind a little bit more.
Yeah. Jen sent me the other day. She sent me because we were preparing for this with you guys, and she sent me the flow chart of how does this look, right? And she kind of went through and said, I've worked with firms for this long, so I know that their start to finish on meetings kind of it looks like this. And she kind of laid it out and said, well, where does GReminders play into this, right? And she kind of got a lot of it right. But when I was going through it and I was, adding, little notes here, adding a note there, I was like, it was the first time in all my time actually being here is seeing GReminders from start to finish and like seeing each task that it's actually handling and managing for you. Yeah. A lot of our time saving that we bring actually almost has nothing to do with AI. It has a lot to do with triggering. It has a lot to do with process management and things of that nature. So, we can go into that and we can share like each step, like, hey, something gets booked. What does that mean? And kind of go from there. But that's the topic here.
That's a topic. And I want to give everyone, for anyone who's known me, I've been around a very long time to teach, because you can do this and you can embed more. So let me just jump right to what he's talking about. Okay, so this is a lot to take in. Let me give you the quick lay of the land. The colors at the top tell you if somebody's doing it or there's automation. So we made the brightest color, which is that, whatever, I don't know, the reddish kind of color, be the automation. The pink is the human labor. So there's methodology behind doing this visually. And so Chris just said it. I was able to actually create something, shoot it over, e-share it to him, right? Chris could add in the other pieces that we were missing, and voila, in a very short period of time, we have a whole new baked process. And that's the beauty of this. But let's just talk about the AI and then the non-AI on this. On the AI side, some people are not comfortable with AI. I got advisory firms that just will not touch it. Okay, they're scared of the SEC, whatever. It doesn't matter. Showing them what AI will do also lets them know there's boundaries around it. That it has its purpose, but it's not like an end all be all, see everything. So by doing this visually, one, we're getting quicker to a better improved work life of cutting down work with automation. And two, we're also saying there's guardrails around this. It's not gonna do everything. So don't worry, we're not letting it run loose. Like a dog off leash kind of thing. So if we go from left to right, and again, so sorry, this is not going to be ADA compliant. I'm assuming most go left to right in their brains. Left is this whole lead journey and taking it all the way through. And you can see that half of the process now has been automated. And I can't begin to tell you how many hours this saves. But Chris, I'm sure you have comments on this.
Yes. Yeah, no, definitely I do. Yeah, I mean, where it starts is a lot different, right? Because where it started, it was every single time. Hey, right? That's how every booking began, right, for meeting management. And then we had email, and email started to, we'd go through those. We'd send them a response, hey, when are you available? Give us a day. They respond the next day saying, hey, we're available January 15th. And then back and forth. And then we essentially see that as, let's get rid of that as much as we can. There is going to be clients. There's always a percentage of your clients that want to pick the phone up, that want to send emails. But there is another percentage of your clients that will just do it for you, right? You give them a link, they'll do the booking for you. And that's what we see. And that's really where we put a lot of our effort in, is where can we get your booking, your link, where can we put that, right? It can go in a number of different places. It can go on your website. It can be personally sent. It can be text messaged. It can be emailed over. You can have it on social media content. I was actually working with a firm the other day, and they put it on they put it on paper, right? They actually, when they're doing different like client events, or they're doing seminars, they'll throw a little QR code at the bottom. Yeah. Hey, if you're interested in talking to us a little bit more about your financial situation, scan this. They scan that, and they're not taking the scan. That scan's not coming to them via email, and then they're going through and adding it to their CRM, figuring out what opportunity it could potentially be, figuring out what workflow it could be. That's just all happening, right? We know the type of opportunity it can be because of where the link came from, right? If you booked on a social media campaign, that's right. What was it? So now we know. So, okay, that event's going to be treated in a different way. They clicked on your signature. That's going to be treated a different way as well, right? And so it's just each one of these things, there's setup, but then once you're set up, once you have these in place, launching these workflows kicking off text reminders automatically, similar to say like a dentist office. All of that just happens. And so you have this link floating out there everywhere, and before you know it, these are adding contacts to your record. They're booking
Right.
right onto the calendar. That calendar is syncing to Outlook and Redtail and vice versa, or Ralphbox, whatever you're
Right,
using.
but here's the deal. That to you or I, that quote flows. But to those maybe listening, you're like, oh my God, that's overwhelming. There's too many moving parts. It's all over the place. And I think that's the point of, I like to bring a little bit of grounding and sanity into our world. We do process work all the time and incorporating people and upskilling and all these different things. But this brings it home. If you see that there's on the left, there's multiple different ways, like Chris was saying, but then it flows into one somewhat controlled process. Well, I deem that as less friction. So that outer person that's going through this, they have less friction, less clicks, less things to do, less whatever. And internally, so does your team. So if we can just get the friction down by using the tech, I think it's beautiful. If we can just clarify that the tech is not going to run a loose, all over the place, then I think that's also good too. And that's where you get the high adoption. So just taking you through, and yeah, we could spend all day on just this map alone. This is just the lead journey. Forget about when they're a prospect or a client or we're going to go into that. So let me just jump to that because I think we're talking about lead, but this actually, to me, this is a whole nother game changer.
Yeah.
So another way, and this is both, sorry, on the left, it's a little small, but we have a lot of words there. AI and automation, two different things, by the way. Just want to be very clear that not everything is AI driven. All right. And this is the idea of kicking off. A lot of firms are using Surge, right? They want to do Surge in the spring and they want to do it in the fall. And that's fine. But how do you kick that off without doing the work? And this is how to do it again. You can see it's mostly automated. Now, yes, we know prep in the meeting is where all the labor and time is, but the fact is that's where the labor and time should be.
Yeah. Yeah. And I agree with a lot of firms switching to Surge. I'm a little biased. My wife works for a firm and they Surge. And I like it because I know when she'll be busy, right? In
That's
fall,
right.
it's like, okay, in
That's,
fall, I have to make dinner every night. And
that's
I
right.
know that I got to have it ready. Like this is my responsibility for all of fall. So like, it's just, I think it's a better structure. And two, we play so well with it, right? So you
Yes.
can go in, you can go to, into your CRM and you can categorize your search. Like you can categorize how you want it to be done. This set of group, we're going to do it this month. This
Yep.
set of clients, we're going to do it this month. And you can continue that categorization with your CRM, right? You're
That's right.
utilizing your CRM to do all of that. Hopefully it's already happening. And when GReminders looks at it, we can just say, okay, they already have the structure in place. So what we're going to do is we're just going to mimic that. And we're going to say, okay, based off of this keyword or based off of this tag, we're going to be then taking and sending a bulk email of saying, hey, time to book with your advisor. It's
Right.
been set amount of time. We excited to meet with you. Here's our link, and they book it. And they have the choice when they're going through that booking for routings, right? So they can say, this is an in-person off, this is an in-person, or this is I want to go with the Zoom, and they choose. And then based off of their choices, we then create the invite. And the invite's
That's
going to
right.
look different, right? One needs a Zoom link, one needs the address. So they're
Right.
going to be
But
different.
again, no human labor on this. The
Exactly.
labor is up front, but it's not throughout the entire process for every time that you're working with a client. That
Mhm.
I think is the absolute beauty. It's also adjusting and being smart. If you, for instance, in the CRM tag differently, this system will see that. Now that's where we get into, I'm going to say just it's automation, but could it be a little AI automation? It could be. It doesn't matter. The point is, I want you to embrace the idea of automating to leave up time for better use. This is all the things that are listed here. We're not a skill that we really want to be training anyone on anymore.
I agree with that. I agree with that completely. And I
Right.
think another thing too, and I kind of align with this on the financial advisor scene. I've been to a lot of conferences. I've met and worked with a lot of financial advisors. I feel like I'm more closely relate to advisors than sometimes people in my own office a lot of times. And that comes down to where I necessarily don't want to write notes for everything, right? I don't want to do
Me too.
notes. I don't want to do prep for like every single phone call I take. Yeah, I
Mhm.
just want to be able to have the human interaction. I want to have the conversations
Yeah,
with people. I want to hear what their issues are and then know how I can solve that. And that's basically exactly what an advisor does, right? They hear what
that's
the
right.
problems are financially, they hear the problems, sometimes it's not even financial, just
Mhm.
in general, and they can solve the financial journey. And then from doing so, that solves other issues, right? And I find
Yeah.
it's very similar with tech in the industry. We help solve advisors running into tedious tasks.
Yes.
And when we solve that, they can just be advisors again, right? They don't have to
Well,
bring
yeah,
up
but I'm going to go
staff.
one step further because I'm the ops geek, right? On the
Yeah.
ops side, listen, I used to be in biz dev and an advisor, so I used to run a firm. But then I came onto the ops side and said, I want to know what that person did in that meeting, but I
Yes.
don't want to wait on them to annotate. That was always the number one bottleneck. What happened in the meeting and what do we need to do next, right?
Yeah.
With AI, which pulls out emotion, lists things in a summary form,
Yeah.
okay? And it's automatic, there's no more bottleneck there anymore. The other thing about AI is, and we all experience this because most of us are now on Zoom calls where AI might be coming, we can pay attention to the nonverbal because we don't have to look down to write anything anymore. We can have more meaningful conversations with people because we can look them in the eye. And I think that's super important. We don't want to lose sight of that. I did not write that out. We can talk about tech all day, but the human element of connecting with people, understanding people, and really listening is the most important thing that will never be replaced. That's what's needed.
I
Yeah.
agree completely. Yep.
All right, so let's talk about how we tackle this because, again, we might take this for granted. I certainly do. Um, many years ago, when I started our business, people were asking me, like, how do you think through things so fast and actually ideate these processes where you can embed the AIs, the automation, all that? And the fact is, I had to document. So this is my brain written down, and it's a mantra a lot of firms seem to be using. I didn't realize how popular it was. So when you're thinking about embedding automation in AI, what you really want to step back and think about is in any given process within the business, whether it's client facing internal, how do I IDOS it? How do I IDOS it? So, how do I integrate something to reduce work? How do I delegate it to another person that should be upskilled or doing it? How do I eliminate it? Twofold, right? Either eliminate it as chop chop, we're not ever going to do it, or we're going to automate it. And then do I need to outsource it because I don't have the skill on the team or I want a higher level skill and I can't afford it? Or how do I recalibrate the staff?
Mhm.
So this is the trick of going back to that process work, but thinking about that with everything that you do. I mean, we can simply tell you where GReminders fits into a lead or a prospect or client process. There's other things to fit into those processes. There's other things to change to really free up time. So IDEOS it.
Mhm. I agree.
All right. And Chris, you alluded to this. You didn't mean to. Um, Tech. So years ago, we visualized tech mapping because when we were talking to tech providers, they would go, you're missing this, you're missing that. The minute you give somebody else a picture of what you have and what data is flowing among each system, they can quickly tell you what else you can capitalize on. So
Mhm.
I'm going to guess, not putting your tech and what's already happening or what's not in terms of data flow and send it to GReminders, I guarantee you they can give you ideas to add in.
Mhm.
Chris and I collaborated on this presentation, and it was super fast for him to look at what I had written and add in what was missing.
Yeah.
We just don't have the time. I think that's why we go to AI. I mean, I go to chat and Copilot all the time because I'm like, I need this now. I need this fast.
Sure.
So, same concept,
Yeah.
get mapping.
I agree.
Okay, so
Yeah. And to echo one of the things you said earlier, I was talking to an advisor the other day, and we both actually came to the same realization. He came up to me, didn't say a word to me, just walked up to me and says, "I use your product. What do I do with my hands?" I was like, I get that. Like, because usually I'm like, here, I'm like writing notes, and it's like, you don't have to anymore. It just kind of handles it.
Yeah.
And so
Can
it
I can
becomes
I
where,
answer that? What did you tell him? What did you I'll tell you what I do, but
yeah,
what'd you tell him?
let's hear your response. I would love to hear it.
I hold thought objects
There you go. Huh.
because it's true, especially a lot of our owners that are visionaries have ADHD and they don't even know it half the time. So they're fidgeting and so they need something to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. What did you mention anything? Did you tell them what to do?
I just talk with them now.
You know, that's what I used to
Yeah, I
do.
just use them in speech. So that's like, I just use them while you're talking. And he's like,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
what I've been doing. But it's just funny. But a fidget spinner, that's not a bad idea. Because like
yeah,
at least
yeah.
a small one or something. Yeah.
Well, I had to do that because when I used big stage speaking, I'm very Italian and I would use my hands. I'm like, you got to stop using your hands. So yeah, but yeah, it's a habit. And what I didn't put on here, and we'll go through this, is it takes 60. Everybody thinks it takes 22 days to form a new habit. It takes 66 days. University of London study, people had gotten it wrong, and it's say 66 days in order and consecutive almost. So the idea being like that. So if you're working in business and you're lucky enough to work only 5 days a week, then you're not practicing two of those days, day 6 and 7. So you lose a little bit of habit forming. So I think when we talk about using systems too, everybody's like, why isn't it just all of a sudden miraculously be better? I'm like, because you had to form new habits around it, and that takes at least 3 to 4 months. I
That's true.
think that's, yeah, we have to remember that. Anyway, cool.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point. And
Okay, so AI today, let's go through this, but I hate reading what others can read. I think let's sum it up.
sure.
Um, to be frank, most firms, businesses, and professional services are not doing most of this with AI.
Mm-hmm.
They're thinking about it, they're concerned about it, they're worried about
Yeah,
it. Okay.
agreed. And here's the thing. I mean, I think when you incorporate a note taker, it's step one. Because step one is you've taken notes for the last since being in business, right? But sometimes your notes can literally be like this tiny, where they're just that for an entire call, right? So AI is only as powerful as the data you give it, right? If you take away the internet, what is AI going to be pulling from, right? So it's very similar to when we bring in note takers. The note taker is kind of the beginning of our AI ecosystem, where
Mhm.
you're going to be then putting more data into it. And AI is now going to be taking notes, right? So you're going to be going through, you're going to be having your calls for the next year with your note taker. And these note takers are going to be giving such good notes that when the next call comes, it's going to have something called a pre-meeting brief, which is something we kind of display for.
We
But what it
did.
does is it goes through
Yep.
all of the data that it has access to. So it's going to go through those notes, and now those like really good notes, right? And it's going to take a look at everything that's happened historically. It's going to look at account information. It's going to look at financial plan. It's going to look at documents. It's going to look at everything, literally everything that's in your ecosystem, right? And when it's looking at all of those data points, it's dropping you saying, here is everything that you need for this specific,
Mhm.
this specific call. So as far as meeting management is concerned and getting more and more information into your note takers, that's what we need to be looking at right now. We need to be looking at what data do you have access to, and what data are you trying to build to get more access into. And that's what's going to start building a lot more automation around tasks. It's going to build a lot more because, for instance, if you're getting ready for a call, which there's a Kitcha survey out there that says people spend almost 2 hours a day on that. If you're just spending time on doing that, that is almost going to be eliminated. Where you have to go into your document management platform, you have to find like the current statements, and you need to make sure that they're
Yeah. Well,
state
you know what I
friendly.
call it? It's like the crib notes. The
Yeah.
way AI is going to do is it's going to look at the past, summarize, and give you the crib notes for the call to come. And
Mm-hmm.
so at that point, it's just fine tuning, running through your quote, not script, but your flow and some things you want to add in,
Yep.
and then carrying it forward. Honestly, it also becomes a coach. Let
Yep.
me coach you on how to run that call, think about things. And I think that's hugely pivotal in an industry that lacks talent at the younger level. So think about this. You're a lead advisor. I hear this all the time. Lead advisor owner. I can't find anybody to kind of take the ball and run with the clients. Well, now you can have AI be somewhat supportive, give the crib notes, and guide that younger advisor how to run the meeting and
Mm-hmm.
prompt them where they might not have thought of. I It's going
Yeah.
to be, it's big. I mean, let's, we could talk about today and tomorrow too. This is what people are, I think, more scared about. Here's what's not on here. And I am not, again, told you, I don't have the crystal ball. There are much better sources out there. The Kitches is WM Today, others, Forbes that are talking about this. The future is it will not only coach you about what you should discuss, but how you should present. I started using AI at the beginning as an early adopter to tell me if I was talking too much, if I was talking positively or negatively.
Mhm.
So like I could carry that forward and go on the next call, use more positive words, not say so much. Sorry about that. You know what I mean? Not say so much. So the long and the short is, I think that's where we're going, and we can't be afraid of it. We have to embrace it and have guardrails around it, which goes
Yeah.
back to in the process flow to say it's not going to take over my world. It's just going to complement it.
Yeah. And I think, and I've said this a few times, I just think that the way financial advising moves forward is through human interaction, right? And a lot of the logistics that we have to do is just going to fade away a little bit more and more. But I don't think you can really ever get rid of financial advisors, one. And then two, the industries with large government oversight are just in a good place right now. They just are, right? Because AI can do all kinds of things, but if government oversight is saying, whoa, you're only going to move as fast as they allow you,
Yeah.
essentially, right? So, there's a lot of cool things that are coming. And I think a lot of the things that are kind of going in are all geared to empowering the advisor, not replacing. There hasn't been, there's very few products AI wise that are
Mhm.
making financial decisions or
That's right.
even making suggestions. Like we don't even do suggestions really. We only do suggestions based off of type of like meetings kind of deal. Like, hey, this meeting happens. These are topics that get talked about on this meeting, and it's based off your history. So it's it's your ecosystem once again. So yeah,
Yeah, it's all of that. And I just anyway, I don't want people to be concerned about it. I want them to see it as a
excitement.
complement or a foundational
Yeah,
piece about it. And again, this is the way to have guardrails. Okay.
I
I'm
agree.
going to leave on this slide for a second if we want to do any wrap up, because we said we would keep this short and to the point, guys, and we gave you visuals so that you
That'd
could
be
get it quicker. All I could say to you is, and I did put this quote here, to be honest, um, avoiding this is not a great move. Reading too much about it is also not a great move. I think, as Chris said, there are steps. The note taker, that's a given. That I see that ingrained everywhere already. Now taking it to the next level and ideating it and throwing it on a board with other people, and it will make you feel safe and in control. And from there, you know, do what you wish.
Mhm. Yeah, I'll kind of echo it. I mean, a lot of your clients don't work necessarily in or in their personal email, right? A lot of your clients work in their work email. I can tell you personally, I check my email probably 4 times a day, and the scheduling, working with someone who doesn't check their email more than 4 times a day is hard, and it takes your time, and it shouldn't, right? We can easily handle scheduling, and that's just a product that does that. We'll go through, and it's very similar. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard of Calendly. It's a lot like that, but we work with tech, right? We work with all of the people in the industry. We work with the CRMs, the Redtail, the Wealth Boxes of the world, and we have close relationships with all of it. And so, as far as booking, scheduling, and then all of that automation stuff you guys saw, I mean, I think the biggest takeaway is try not to do scheduling anymore, right? That's the easiest, like that's the
Start
smallest
there.
takeaway. Like
That's right.
try not to do that.
Yeah.
And then, if you're ready to kind of say, you know what, I can look at this and I can say, that's what I want for my firm. That's why we're doing this webinar with Jen, because you can learn a lot from her and everything that she'll be providing. But if you guys are interested in learning more about either of us, I mean, she had her QR code there. You could have just scanned that, and that'll take you right to her site. For us, you can head to GReminders.com. You can go do a demo. You can trial the platform. Trial's like 14 days, and we'll set up your account with everything. And demo is just one of us walking through the product with you and kind of sharing what it can do. But either way, yeah, reach out to us. We're happy to help. We do want to open up for questions, though. I'm sure everything we discussed, someone wants to input something. So if you guys
Maybe.
have any questions, feel free to put it into the questions box. We'll stay on for another few minutes and answer those.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, it's mind blowing. So much to learn, so little time. That's why I love these tools because honestly, it just frees up time to learn. Now, I'm obviously a continuous learner. Not everyone is, but I think in this day and age, we just need to be. We need to be more open. But the trick is selling up. I'll tell you, I think the biggest hurdle of all of this is the fear of others around us that just are afraid of the impact of it. And if we can't communicate in a way that calms the fear, which by the way is the visual, that works with neuroscience, then we're going to struggle. So hopefully this was helpful.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I agree with you. Yeah. I mean, if we're just trying to reduce workload a little bit is what it kind of comes
That's
down
right.
to. And you
And
said
get more
very,
yeses. Get more yeses. Yes,
yeah,
that's a
yeah.
great idea. Let's go.
I mean, you said something in the very, very beginning, which I loved, and it was like get your work life balance in order a little bit more, and that resonates because that can mean so many different things to so many different people, right? It can mean, for one, it can say like, oh, nice, I can put in 10-hour work days instead of 12, fantastic.
Yeah.
Or for others, it means like I can even work 10 times more than that. Like, look at all this stuff I can do to push my career forward. But there's other people, it's like, I wonder how many more tea times I can grab.
That's
that's
right.
that's a
Or
thing
what
too.
about the owners? Like this is the stories I love to tell. It's the owners like when we get engaged, right? And I'm not touting us. I'm just telling you what's possible with these tools and these techniques. And they're like all of a sudden like, yeah, I'm going away for 3 weeks. I'm like, what? I'm like, when's the last time you took a vacation? 5 years ago. I mean, listen, this work-life balance thing is a real deal.
It
The
is.
real deal. Yeah, I think we don't need to use OOO anymore either, by the way. It's off the grid. I want people off the electronic grid these days. And like, but when you have these tools, when you put these guardrails in place, you know everything's humming along without you. It gives you the freedom to have balance. I think it's great.
Yep, I agree. I agree. Cool. All right. Well, we'll wrap this thing up
Yes.
then.
Yeah.
You have we put Jen's link in the chat. I think you guys can all see that there too if you missed the QR code. But if you guys have any questions or anything like that, feel free to reach out to us. Again, mine's just GReminders.com or Chris@GReminders.com, and we'd be happy to work with you. Help you guys out.
Awesome.